Hey, and welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. I'm Elena Lipson. I'm a mama, I'm a wife, and I'm the founder of the Divine Self-Care Circle membership and the Virtual Retreat Academy. I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your body, your health, or your family in order to create true abundance and prosperity. I believe in living based on the divine feminine metrics of success, and these include pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. Each week, I'll bring you 1 to 2 new episodes. One of these will be a guided meditation that you don't have to do on the meditation pillow, and the other will be a conversation to help you access your inner wisdom, to ignite abundance, and inspire others to do the same. I invite you to join me on this journey back to the magic of a divinely aligned and well cared for you. And now, join me for today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of Meditations and Musings. I say amazing because I love doing them, and the feedback that I've been getting has been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to look forward to sharing some of the notes that I've been receiving and the personal emails. I will share them over the next several episodes. But today, I wanted to share a really special episode that is coming straight from my personal life and something that I am getting ready to do. When I'm recording this episode, it's actually late December, just about to turn over into 2018. That year seemed like a very far away dream when I was younger, but here we are. And this is life. There's so much going on right now, so much going on in the world, in politics, so much that we can just get drowned out, drown our own intuition, drown out our own inner joy, drown out possibility and potentiality and creativity by constantly staying connected to the news, the flow of media, even social media, and especially social media, because that brings up so much beautiful information, of course, and so much connection, but also a lot of overwhelm and, quite honestly, exhaustion. There's just so much. There's this constant stream. I can remember being 10, 11, 12 years old, looking forward to Saturday mornings because I would get to wake up and go sit in front of the TV set and watch cartoons for several hours. And I remember that feeling of just kind of, I guess we wouldn't call that binging now, right? Binging like a Netflix show or whatever show you're watching. But that wasn't something we did on a regular basis in general, maybe even 10, 20 years ago. It just wasn't available to us because there wasn't news streaming full time. There wasn't the cartoon channel. There wasn't all these different constant full-time streaming, sometimes wonderful things, but also quite honestly, sometimes very harmful things. And there's lots of studies that show that even scrolling through Facebook for 15, 20 minutes at a time can start to affect the way you process your own thoughts, the way you perceive the world, your positivity or pessimism, and whichever way you're skewed in general can start to get quite actively affected by the amount of time that you are spending scrolling through the news, scrolling through your feed, and starting to sort of dive into this perceived real world and start to forget about the things that really, really deeply nourish us as human beings, the connections to ourselves, to our practices, to our creativity, to the people around us. So today, I'm going to share with you a very special episode called Unplugging with Intention and Daily Ritual. And unplugging by itself can definitely be really nourishing, but there's something missing from just saying, I'm going to unplug from technology for a few days. I would say on a deeper level, and as a teacher of daily practice and ritual, this is one of the topics that I've seen transform lives. Daily practices and rituals, when done with intention, can reconnect you to something inside of you, that inner fire, that inner spark that has purpose, that has reason to create without judgment. Even a little judgment doesn't really matter. So today we're going to talk about 3 ways that, or actually 4, I added a 4th one, 4 steps to unplug with intention and daily ritual. But first, I wanted to share the sponsor of this podcast is 66 Sacred Rituals, an audio journey to activate alignment and magic and abundance. So this is a program that I created several years ago, and it's been taken by hundreds of people from all around the world, and the feedback has been consistently magical. People really love these rituals, and the cool thing about it is that once you do it, you have lifetime access to all the rituals. And when I created this program, it really came in as a divine download, as something that I knew was going to be so powerful, because it was based on the practices and rituals that I myself have done over 2 decades or more, and really compiled them in a simple, digestible, practical way so that you get small doses, because the recordings are no longer than 3 to 7 minutes each. Something that you can do. You don't need any tools. You don't need anything except listening ability and a way to receive an email. And then you press play, listen to the audio. Some of them are practically meditation, so you can just listen and you're doing the ritual. And some of them are more of an active ritual where you actually go and do something, but it's nothing that you need to do that's super crazy. So there's small rituals that you get to experience, and then you get to choose which of them you want to add to your life. And the cool thing is people keep doing them over and over again, and they start them as a practice. And this is really a perfect practice to begin actually when you start an unplugging ritual as well. So it would go perfectly together. So exclusively for you as a listener of the Meditations and Musings podcast, I have a special coupon that I only share on this podcast, and you will get $10 off this audio journey by, when you're clicking through, you go to elenalipson.com/66 days. You can experience one of the rituals for absolutely free, so you can decide whether you want to hear my voice more or not, which if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you want to hear it at least once a week, right? So maybe more. And then when you click through the links that are there, when it tells you to enter a coupon code, just enter the coupon code podcast. That's it, and you get $10 off. You can definitely feel free to share it as well as a valued listener of the Meditations and Musings podcast. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really blessed and honored that you're listening to my words, and it's my pleasure to provide you with this $10 exclusive coupon as a listener to the Meditations and Musings podcast. So now let's go ahead and dive in. And I want to share with you the 4 steps to unplug with intention and daily ritual. So the first step is to choose your why. So choosing to unplug, there is a kind of an obvious why, because you might feel the buzz and stress of connection to the constant connection to the flow of media, as I was mentioning earlier. But I want you to really pause. If you're intending to unplug, whether it's coming up very soon, or maybe you have a period in your life where you can take a few days to really unplug, even if it's just 1 or 2 days, even if it's just one day, or honestly, even if it's an afternoon, you will start to feel the effects of unplugging. But even if it is just an afternoon, I want you to ask yourself, what am I intending? Or you can phrase it as, what am I creating? Or you can access it as, what am I activating? Really, it doesn't matter how you word it, but I want you to do the intentionality practice of asking, what are you intending to create? That's a really simple way to access that. And some of the answers might be something like, you want to create some more white space in your life. You want to create some space for creativity. Maybe you want to create some space for deeper nourishment of your body. Maybe you've been craving some practices like daily baths or massage, or just time to relax and do nothing and snuggle in with a warm blanket on the couch. Maybe you just need the rest. Perhaps you're seeking some relief from the stress of daily life. Maybe there's been some activity or more stress than normal in your life, and maybe you just need some relief of that stress. Perhaps you're looking for a deeper connection with yourself or with spirit. There's something so powerful about having a daily connection with spirit, whether it's through nature or meditation or movement. Having that connection is vital to feeling like you're connected to something bigger. Perhaps you're just seeking some playtime. Maybe it's been a while since you've laughed, like really, really laughed. You know, those belly laughs that make you just cry tears of joy. Maybe it's been too long. Perhaps you're seeking some connection time with your family and friends. Maybe it's been a while since you've spent any just relaxed time over a cup of tea or playing a game, something like that. Perhaps you are looking, like I was, to access or create a new level of potentiality in your life and in your work by creating space and creating new rituals. By doing something different than you usually do, you're actually being someone different. You're being the person that you're craving to be. And you are actually creating new energy in your life. And that brings about new potentials, new opportunities, new ideas. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, year after year, you're going to feel like time is slipping by. So this is a great way to put the brakes on and just access a new way of seeing yourself and seeing the world. Perhaps this is a great time to make space for starting the 66 sacred rituals. It's perfect. So that's step one, choosing your why. And I want you to really understand that when you're doing this, when you are setting an intention to unplug, you are creating an opportunity to make and keep a sacred promise to yourself. As a coach and a leadership coach, as someone who's been leading conversations and coaching clients and retreats and writing blogs and podcasts and just the work I've been doing over the last 17, 18 years, I see something that is really, really vital. So many people are not believing in their own abilities because they don't keep promises to themselves. It could be as simple as, I'm going to start going to the gym on Monday and then not going, or not going for more than a few days. Or I'm going to stop eating this food that I know bothers my tummy, and then you just lose your will and you continue. Well, the problem is we have so many things pulling on our attention. We have so much stress in our lives. We only have a limited amount of will to go around. And if you're using that will constantly to decide to get on social media, get off social media, make all these little tiny daily decisions that are pulling you away from the time to create and just breathe, then you are breaking small promises to yourself throughout the day. And that makes you feel terrible. And I fully believe that so much sadness and so much procrastination and even depression possibly comes from not keeping those promises to yourself. Now, I know, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I know depression comes from some chemical imbalances. I have experienced deep, deep depression that came from life circumstances that happened within my family. So I know when you're in it, it is dark, it is bleak, and it is a place of lack of hope. So I know that. And I know that some other depression comes from chemical imbalances, and that's not what I'm talking about here at all. If you have something like that and you're experiencing that, please seek help. There are amazing therapists out there that can help you to really reignite that little spark of hope over time. So please seek support if you are experiencing that. What I'm talking about is the more kind of daily little broken promises to ourselves, like I'm going to go to sleep earlier, or I'm going to wake up and meditate, or I'm going to go for a jog, or I'm going to call that person that I've been meaning to connect with. And you just keep postponing and postponing and postponing. And those kind of broken promises start to really take up space and energy in your mind. So that's what I'm talking about. So that's step one, choosing your why. Step two is to, before you unplug, before you're in it, I want you to sit down with just a pen and paper and create 3 to 5 or more. I'll share the ones that I created, but 3 to 5 daily rituals to fill the space that you used to spend on social media. And I will share the ones that I created because I really sat down and I thought, if I am creating all this unplugged space, and I do want to create space that literally is like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm just going to flow through my day, and that's awesome. And that's exactly what I want to do. And I also wanted to be very intentional about it. And I wanted to add things that just make me feel so excited to unplug that I know I'm going to fill that vacuum. Because sometimes when you're starting a new habit and you are removing a habit, in this case, we're removing our addiction and tendency to reach for the phone and technology when we have a little bit of breathing space. But I didn't want to just create a vacuum because I knew that my mind and my fingers were going to be just itching to check my phone and hop on the computer. But I didn't want to do that. So here's an example of mine. And I have more than 5, but that's okay because some of them sort of override and they're the ones that really, really bring me joy. So I sat down and I wrote the title, Daily Practice for Unplugging. So here are mine, and you can pull one of them or two of them if you get inspired, but I would definitely say sit down with a pen and paper and see what comes up for you. So for mine, it's 20 minutes of drawing or doodling. It's 30 to 60 minutes of dance, 20 to 30 minutes of reading for pleasure, 30 minutes of planning, visualizing, and dreaming into 2018 or whatever period of time that you are. Maybe it could be like the next month or the next week or the next year. 20 minutes of practicing ukulele, 30 to 60 minutes of my nature walk, 20 minutes of my faith journaling and visualizing practice, and 20 to 30 minutes of meditation and sitting practice. Now, some of these things I already do, but I wanted to do them more intentionally. So like the meditating I've been doing for quite a while, the walking in nature I've been doing. On and off, I've been practicing my ukulele, but I really want to do it daily. I haven't been reading for pleasure every day, and I haven't been doodling, and I haven't been dancing every single day, though I dance about 3 to 4 times a week. So those are my practices. And even when I read that list, it just makes me so happy. Now, if I find myself feeling stressed out because it's too much, I might just take 1 or 2 off. But honestly, I love them. And so several of them I do first thing in the morning. So they're kind of done, like my meditation and nature walk. I really do those first thing in the morning. I do my faith journaling usually as I'm drinking my coffee and my warm lemon water. And then the other things I'll just weave in as I go. So for today, I already started my practice and I've done some drawing and doodling. I've done some dancing. I've done some walking in nature. And again, you do this your way. Just because of the times that I've chosen doesn't mean that they're the times that you're going to choose. And maybe it's just one practice. Maybe you just are really wanting to write a book or like write something, or maybe you just miss drawing, or maybe you just want to dance or be in nature more. Just choose one. If you're just starting now, I've done these practices for a while, so some of them are just sort of already embedded in my day. But others, they're going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to really keep the promise to myself. So, but as I do each one, I also pause and I really honor myself for doing it. I actually don't just breeze through it. I do it almost like mindfully. It's almost like meditative as I do it. So when I was doodling this morning, I just really enjoyed it. I slowed down. I wasn't just doing it to check it off my list. I was doing it so I can enjoy it. So whatever you do put on your list, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 3, maybe it's more. I want to do it mindfully. And the cool thing is you can already pick something that you've been doing either regularly or intermittently, but you want to do it more on a regular basis and just do that. So it's not something super new, right? So, but again, it's really important to know that you will probably spend, if you're like me, probably been spending a significant chunk of your day throughout the day checking social media. So those spaces need to be filled, right? So it's good to fill them intentionally. And I really want you to process it as you go. So number 3 of your 4 steps to unplugging with intention and daily ritual is to choose your dates. So here's where it can get a little bit stressful, because if you just decide you want to do it now, but your life is so busy because it's holiday season, you really can't do it. You might feel like you want to, but you can't. Well, don't feel sad. Don't feel depressed, or don't feel, feel whatever you want to feel, right? I can't tell you what to feel. But the thing is, I've been planning this for a while, and I took a chunk out of my normally the reason I'm doing this now is because this is a time of year where I begin my launch process for my Divine Self-Care Circle, which is a year-long program. It's a membership program. So usually I take 6 weeks to launch. But this year I sort of had this like playful idea of what if I took 2 weeks to just fully unplug, really unplug, and then 4 weeks to launch. That still felt really spacious. So that's why I'm doing it now. So ask yourself, what makes sense in your life? Does it have to be now? Does it have to be like in a certain season? Does it make sense to do it during a holiday season? And again, remember, I'm doing it for 2 weeks because this time of year makes a lot of sense for me. My son is off of school. I'm getting ready to step into a new year. I really want to just slow down and savor the end of this year in a way that maybe I haven't ever done, really, because 2 weeks to fully unplug before a launch can definitely make me feel a little resistant and stressful. And I was feeling that last night. But this morning, as I started, besides doing this podcast recording, I have just been playing. I've been doodling. I've been playing with my son. I really slowed down to enjoy my coffee. I took my dog for a long walk. So already in this first day, I just feel so much more present and playful and expansive. So for yourself, when you're choosing your dates, just think about it. Maybe you would want to start with like a half a day. Is there a half a day over the next week or two that you can just choose to mindfully unplug and set an intention? Maybe one ritual that you want to do. Maybe it's writing or journaling. Maybe you want to spend an afternoon just pulling out all your paint supplies, putting on some beautiful music and painting. Maybe you want to go sit in nature somewhere, just thinking and writing and being. Perhaps you want to just sort of take yourself out to dinner. I don't know, whatever it is, it has to be technology free. That's the thing. Because once you're technology free, it's almost like your brain begins to reactivate. In fact, I said this to my husband a couple of times over the last few weeks, which is probably what fueled this. I told him, I'm like, I feel like technology is making me stupid. Like, I know I said it sort of, with playfulness, but I really felt like I couldn't pull a thought all the way through. I was constantly distracted. I found myself unable to finish like almost a thought sometimes because without reaching for the phone or checking my Instagram account or Facebook. And it just became so self-evident that this constant distraction in the name of doing my work was starting to create a dullness in my brain. Like, even though I definitely still feel like a smart person, all that is fine, but I felt like it was creating this little loop of distraction, this constant distraction where even as my son was talking to me, I was still looking down at my phone. And I knew it was time to change it up. And here I am telling him that I don't want him getting a smartphone because I don't want him getting addicted. And I'm literally demonstrating why I shouldn't, why I shouldn't be having one either. So I need you to have a why. Like, that was my why, right? My why was almost twofold. My why was because I really, really wanted to create space for new potentiality. I have big things coming in 2018, and I knew I had to do something differently. So I just want to tap into my own well of creativity and connect with my divine guides in a way that is undistracted. And I wanted to demonstrate to my son, I've been sharing this with him. I shared my intentions, I shared why I was doing it, and I even shared my daily practices and rituals that I'm doing. And some of them I will share with him. It'll be fun. We'll draw together, we'll walk together, we'll dance together, which we already did this morning. So when you're thinking about all those things, just choose your dates. And again, if you've never unplugged and you're getting really frightened of being away from your phone, then choose an afternoon. I guarantee you have 1 to 3 or 4 hours that you can decide are dedicated to you, to your wellness, to your deep nourishment, to tending to the soil of your soul. So choose your dates as number 3. And number 4 is one that I love because it applies to everything. And people forget to do this step so much that they literally kind of do one thing and go right into the next thing and skip this step altogether. But it's very, very important. So this step is to honor, integrate, and celebrate. And I do this, I would say this is really important to do. If you're doing it more than a day, then do it at the end of each day. If you're doing it for one afternoon, do it after the afternoon. Also if you're doing it for longer like I am going to honor, integrate, and celebrate daily, but also at the end of it as kind of a personal celebration. So honor, integrate, and celebrate. Let's break that down. To honor. First of all, you're honoring yourself for doing something difficult because I'll tell you, unplugging fully and doing it with intention is not an easy task. It sounds great, it feels great, but when you're in it, your hands literally like have a mind of their own. They want to reach for that phone. So honor that you are making a commitment to yourself. You can do this even as a pre-celebration. It feels really, really good. Integrate. Take time to reflect, either during or right afterwards, or at the end of the entire process. Really take time to ask yourself questions. What did I learn? What am I walking away with? What was most difficult? What was easy? What surprised me? How am I different now? Really take time to integrate and process so that you don't skim over the deeper lessons and go right back to your old ways, right? My intention after this whole unplugging experience is not to just dive right back in and stop doing all these wonderful rituals for myself. It's to find reason to activate them even more and to maybe put technology in its place and not feel it's like that thing that I have to constantly reach for. And maybe instead say, you know what? I'm going to put my phone away and I'm going to go practice the ukulele. Like, really feel what I'm enjoying and experiencing so that when I go back to my normal daily schedule, I don't just go back to how it was before. So that's kind of an embedded integration. And finally, celebration. Celebration is something that we in general don't do often enough because we're waiting for like the big reason to celebrate. I love celebrating the small things. Like when I do this podcast, woohoo, I'm celebrating myself. Every time I record it, every time I send a copy of the audio to my editor, every time it gets published, every time I share it with someone, every time someone emails me, like I love it. Every time any, a ping of like PayPal or Stripe comes into my account for any purchase, even if it's a $7 self-care toolkit, I celebrate with a little dance or like a woohoo, because if you get numb to the daily celebrations, then and you're just waiting for the big ones, life can become pretty drab and dull. So I don't want life to be that way. I want my life to be animated and joyful. And if you can learn to celebrate the smallest of accomplishments, I promise you the big ones are going to feel like you've won the $1 million+ lottery. Okay, so let me review those steps with you. So 4 steps to unplug with intention and daily ritual. Number 1 is to choose your why. Get your why. What does it mean to you? Why are you doing this? For space, for creativity, for nourishment, for new potentiality and opportunity? You get to choose. Number 2 is to sit down and really ask, what are the 3 to 5, maybe even just 1 daily rituals that I want to cultivate to fill the space of unplugging from technology? Because you're going to have some need to, you're going to feel that pull to go back. So if you have something to replace it with, it's going to be that much more powerful and that much more probable that you actually complete your unplugging period. Number 3 is choose your dates. And remember, even if you only have a few hours to unplug, do it mindfully, do it with joy, do it with intention. And I promise you, you will feel that deep sense of nourishment and whatever you're doing during that time, even if it's just sitting and gazing out at the water, you're going to feel differently than if you had spent that time browsing your social media accounts. I guarantee you. And number 4 is honor, integrate, and celebrate not only at the end, but as you go. And really acknowledge yourself for this promise that you're making and keeping. And I'm excited for you. I really hope you're inspired to choose a time and do these steps, because the more we can plug back in to our souls, the more we can plug back into our intuition, the more we can plug back into nature and to the rituals that really create meaning in our lives, the less we're going to be swayed like a leaf blowing in the wind by news, by scrolling media, so that when you do go back to it, you feel more grounded, you feel more rooted, and you start to get the sensation of when it's been enough. And you're like, you know what? It's been a few minutes. I'm starting to go down the rabbit hole. I feel like I'm going to turn it off and go for a walk outside. Maybe call a friend I haven't spoken with for a while, and instead choose something that nourishes you so that when you do come back to technology, when you do come back to your social media, you become a force of positivity, of possibility, of potentiality, instead of someone who just joins that droning buzz of like scrolling through without meaning. Can you imagine that if more of us did that? I can imagine it, and that's why I'm sharing this episode with you today. So if you've been inspired and you found some activation and motivation to get unplugged, I want to hear from you. Please leave me a comment and let me know that you're doing it and what your why is. I would love to know what your why is. All you have to do is scroll down and leave a review with your comments on this episode. Let me know if this is about episode 29, Unplugging with Intention and Daily Ritual, so that I know which one you're talking about. And then if you feel like you have friends and family that would benefit from hearing this conversation, please do share. It makes a difference for me, for my numbers, and for the possibility of this message being spread far and wide. So thank you so much. I want to acknowledge you for listening, for dreaming, for seeing the possibility and potential of the benefits of unplugging. This is Elena Lipson, founder of the 66 Sacred Rituals and the Divine Self-Care Circle. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your attention, your awareness, and your energy. I never take it for granted. I wish you so many blessings for a joyful holiday season. Whatever you're celebrating, I am celebrating you and our time together. I will see you again for our next episode of the Meditations and Musings podcast. Take care. Thank you so much for listening and learning about the new divine self-care way of being in your life, business, and the bedroom based on the divine feminine metrics of success. pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. If you're ready to bust the myth of overwhelm and tap into an inspired start to each day, I've put together a free video series for you to help you start each day with energy, inspiration, and ignite that inner pilot light which attracts joy, magic, and synchronicity. You can access my 3-step magic morning practice to help you ignite your inner light and attract the abundance that you're craving. Head on over to elenalipson.com/gift. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would so love if you share it with a friend, a sister, a mother, a daughter, and please leave a review. That is how the magic starts to ripple out. Here's wishing you a day full of beauty, magic, and divine self-care. I'll see you next time at the Meditations and Musings podcast.